All right, all right, all right. All right. So we're live, right? We're live. Okay, so this is one of the longest or this is one of the most popular myths within the so-called black manosphere online community, right? Which is that it's believed that historically so-called black females in the United States of America arbitrarily chose to abandon the traditional family structure in order or excuse me, let me rephrase that. So it's been believed within the so-called black manosphere that so-called black females in America have chosen to abandon the traditional family structure and chose government assistance in order for so-called black females to rely on to help raise their children, right? So that's the belief. And usually the majority of people who hold that belief have failed to provide documentation to prove this to be fact, right? So therefore, and I at one point in time, believed that myth also. So I'm not going to lie. At one point in time, I believed that myth until I've done something called research, right? Which is rare within the so-called black manosphere. But all right. So the fact of the matter is that myth is not totally true if you want to go according to the facts. The fact of the matter is this: in 1968, there was a U.S. Supreme Court case called King versus Smith, in which a single mother from Alabama, yeah, in which is what up, Ayo, yeah, I believed it, yeah. So back to what I was saying, right? So this Supreme Court case dealt with a single mother from Alabama who had 4 children. I think she was widowed. She was widowed, and because but at the same time, she had a male who would enter her home every weekend, who would enter her home every weekend for they could have sexual intercourse. The state of Alabama, because she's from Alabama, would find out about this. They found out about this individual. So they considered him to be a quote unquote substitute father, in which at that time in the state of Alabama, there was a rule called the substitute father rule, in which if there was a male in the home, he would be considered by the state to be a substitute father, and therefore, if a household had a quote unquote substitute father, that household would no longer be eligible for government assistance. So, therefore, this same female challenged that rule, and I think in June 17th, 1968, right, the U.S. Supreme Court made it unconstitutional for states to declare that if to deny government assistance to families that had a male in the home, right? So therefore, this myth that the manosphere held for so long, stating that black females arbitrarily chose government assistance over a traditional family, thus kicking out the black male at the home, assuming that welfare, even till this day, requires that a male is not present in the home, is not true. Because ever since 1968, the U.S. Supreme Court deemed it unconstitutional for U.S. states to deny government assistance to families that had a male in the home. Therefore, ever since 1968, families can get government assistance whether or not a male was in the home. All right. Thus making it impossible after 1968 for black females to arbitrarily abandon the traditional family structure for government assistance, because females, regardless of race or ethnicity, can get government assistance whether or not they had a male in the home, so long as they so long as they met the requirements as far as uh, yearly salary to get welfare. All right. So this myth of welfare destroying black families is not true ever since 1968. Exactly. Reading has helped me realize real lies. All right. So what really, like, there's a few factors that really destroyed the traditional black American families, right? One of the biggest things that destroyed black American families was high black male unemployment. Because around that time, although in 1968 that the US Supreme Court made it unconstitutional for states to deny families government assistance if they had a male in the home, at the same time, what was happening that destroyed a lot of black families was, like I said before, black male unemployment. Because what happened is around that time, right? If you're talking about the 1960s, the 1970s, all the way down to the 1980s and 1990s, a very large percentage of black males, so-called black males in America, had low skilled manufacturing jobs, right? And what happened to the manufacturing industry between the 1960s and the 1990s were two things. One, technological advancement, right? Where the equipment that factories or different manufacturing jobs is using got more advanced. And a lot of the black males who worked for these companies was not skilled to utilize these these new technologies to help, to help the companies, you know, do the work. Therefore, they lost their jobs. Also, another thing at the same time that was happening within the manufacturing industry was that a lot of companies was outsourcing their jobs to other countries, or in other words, a lot of American companies was actually closing their shops in America and transferring on to other countries, transferring to opening shops in other countries, because hiring people in other countries would mean that they would have to pay less money. So therefore, they closed down a lot of companies within the manufacturing industry, closed down their companies within America, and opened shop in other countries. Thus, made a lot of people within America lose their jobs. And once again, this was around the time when a large portion of so-called black males was hired by the manufacturing industry. So high unemployment was the main cause in the breakup of black American families, because more and more black males was unemployed, thus made black males feel less masculine since they had a hard time feeling as if they're men to take care of their families. Thus, they got up and left the home, which is unfortunate. So, yeah. See, when you do a little research, you find out the truth. And you find out that a lot of these fucking manosphere talking points was a bunch of bullshit, right? At least I found that shit out. So I want a lot of people who's watching this video to look up this U.S. Supreme Court case called King versus Smith, because that Supreme Court case made it illegal in America for states to deny giving government assistance to families that had a male in the home. So this whole thing that this whole myth of, well, states refused to give families welfare if there's males in the home. thus resulted in black females kicking the black male out the home was not true ever since 1968. Maybe prior to 1968 that was true, but after 1968 that was considered untrue because once again the U.S. Supreme Court made it unconstitutional for states to adopt laws to deny families government assistance to households that had a male in the home. All right. Yeah, 1968. 1968. Yes, that's true. That's true. Doug. Yes. Well, well, seeking my creator, just put V. Don't put VS because the way Supreme Court cases work, they only put a V to represent verses. So King space V dot space Smith. Yeah. So let me highlight what Doug said. Doug said during Vietnam, soldiers didn't get paid monthly while on tour and couldn't send money back home to their families, unlike today, where the payment system is digital. Right. And Doug continues said, so some mothers had to get on welfare during the war. Yeah. 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 So yeah. So that Supreme Court case in 1968 called King versus Smith, totally destroy this myth that the so-called black manosphere have been stating for years about how black females have arbitrarily chosen the government assistance over the traditional family. Because ever since 1968, traditional families was allowed to exist even while being on government assistance. Once again, one of the factors that destroyed the traditional black household was high black male unemployment, which resulted in black males either living a life of crime or leaving the home because because high black male unemployment made a lot of these black males unfortunately felt that they were no longer that they were no longer masculine or felt like men, thus they had them abandon the home, unfortunately. So therefore, right? So therefore, one of the biggest problems in within the black male collective is economics, economics and education. And this is all facts. This is not me just stating my personal feelings. This is all facts. Let me give you guys this shit. Hold on. Let me. Here's the link. I'm going to post this link in the video description box. No, not in the video description box, but in the chat. So I posted this link in the chat. This link is the actual Supreme Court case of King versus Smith. All right. Now, this is not me. Now, some people may look at this video and try to falsely accuse me of simping and all this other bullshit, right? This is not me simping or any other thing. This is just me telling the truth. This is just me just telling the truth. That's it. This is just me just giving facts. That's it. That's it. But if anyone have any facts to prove the complete opposite, please provide some. Please provide some. Exactly, seeking my creator. All of this silence in the so-called black community, or the lack thereof, has allowed so many lies to spread. Damn. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's true. And it's done by people automatically believing certain narratives without doing the proper research to see if these narratives are true. That's it. You know, like I said, if anyone have any documentation to prove that what I'm saying is false, please provide them. Because I posted the documentation right here, which is a Supreme Court case, to prove that ever since 1968, two-parent families were able to get government assistance, so long as they met the criteria as far as household income. All right, in order to receive government assistance. So once again, when a lot of people within the so-called black manosphere try to utilize this narrative of so-called black females abandoning the traditional black family in order and choosing government assistance over the traditional black family in order for them to be independent from the control of black males is not true, according to the facts. And this is why it's important to be factually based, to base things off of actual documented facts, right? Like I said, and I'm guilty of actually believing that shit. I'm guilty of actually believing that narrative until I did something called research, right? Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, man. So I just suggest people to look up the Supreme Court case called King versus Smith. Because ever since 1968, it was illegal for states to deny families uh, government assistance to households that had a male within that household. So therefore, this fact should destroy that lie about how so-called black females just totally abandon the traditional family structure for government assistance because of the supposed myth that welfare required males to not be in the home for so families can be eligible for government assistance, because ever since 1968 that was not true. Hold on, let me edit this title. The fuck, let me edit this motherfucking title. Excuse my language. Yeah, no problem, no problem, no problem, Doug. What up, Shaka Nulu? What up, what up, what up? Yeah, man. But either way, right? As a man, as a man, as men, why would we actually result in actually wasting our time in blaming no good black females for the supposed flaws of black America when we could actually avoid being with their ass, right? And actually put ourselves in a position where we could have better options. But anyhow, that's a different take. But so the question, which is the title of the video, which is, did black women abandon the traditional family structure for government assistance? The answer is no, according to the facts. All right. All right. So peace out, y'all. Peace out.